Hi, everyone. Well, I have a special friend I've brought in today, which is my friend Alexis, who is a very cool mindfulness facilitator. And I've been really lucky to get to know Alexis over the last 12 months or so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I just find the work that she does to be really exciting and very different, and not your typical what you would think about when you think about mindfulness. You know, who knows what any of us think about, but I just think what you do is really different and very modern. And I just thought there'd be some people in the group that might really get a lot out of what you do, and just learning a little bit more about the power of the pause, and just yeah, learning to sort of quieten our thinking and all that sort of stuff. So this is Alexis, everyone, and
Hi, everyone.
do you want to tell everyone a little bit about what you do, and how that accent came about, and how awesome you are?
Aw, well, thank you for that very kind intro. You've set the bar high now. Um, let's see. I'm not from here, if you can't tell. I'm actually from New York and Boston. I miss my family greatly right now. It's a very important time to be mindful and to be grateful of the situation that we're in. When you have people so far away that are going through things a lot worse, it really keeps things in perspective and really makes you understand why social distancing is so important right now.
Yeah.
And so on that note, I moved to Australia for my husband, who is Aussie. I was doing a bit of world traveling, you could say. The reason I was doing world traveling was because I was completely burnt out. I owned my own company in America, which was wildly successful, but I was truly unhappy. And probably one of the best lessons I've learned is just because you're good at something doesn't mean it's good for you. And so it took a lot of courage, and took courage for years, actually, to walk away from a business that was doing well. And so I went on my own little, I like to call it my own eat, pray, love journey. And that's what brought me to your beautiful country and to meet awesome people like you. And through becoming extremely burnt out, and the short version of the story being very unhealthy, burnt out. Oh, let's see, what else did I do to myself? Unhealthy relationships, really horrible relationship with food. What else? Yeah, drinking way too much. Just pretty much drunk every night for 10 years. And so going through that process and learning things in life of what to not do and how to feel better and be happy, pause was created because I started meditating. But I never told anybody, ever. It's still a new thing for me to put it out there that I do this. Because we have an ego. And ego, man, can it get in the way of you doing some good things? Because you set expectations of what life's supposed to look like, and the car you're supposed to drive, and the person you're supposed to marry, and the body you're supposed to be in. And when you can let go of that ego and let go of those expectations, holy shit, life really can become quite sweet and delicious.
Can become anything, really, can't it?
Truly anything. And so letting go of all that, as I let go of a career, I was still doing some consulting work. And one of the biggest things I knew when I went into other companies was that there was a loss of this idea of mindfulness. And people hear the word mindfulness, meditation, I think they think of Buddha sitting under the tree, up in the mountains, or the beautiful girl on the cover of a magazine wearing Lululemon. And so I never really felt comfortable. I know Tracy loves Lululemon. I get it.
I've only bought, I used to buy it about 10 years ago. And I reckon the stuff I've bought is about 10 years old. I just can't afford it anymore.
I know.
But I do like it.
But there's this whole idea of what this practice is supposed to be. And so through my journey and through sobriety and through kind of getting clear, I started bringing meditation to the everyday person. I started bringing it into businesses to work with managers and learn how to speak to each other and communication and how to take care of yourself. And I don't do that by teaching this is how you talk or this is how you do. What I do is I teach a very simple and approachable guided meditation that anyone can follow. And in each class, there's little tools that you can take out into your everyday life. I don't use any language that you would have never heard of before, that you'd give me that look like, huh, what'd she say? There's no oming, and there's a time and place for all of that. Don't get me wrong. I love going to yoga and I om at the end of yoga. But it's not where I wanted to bring my meditation teachings and practice to. I think because of perception, a lot of people don't do this practice. And I was one of those people. I still wanted to have a business, but also meditate. And when you talk to some of the most successful business owners in the world, they meditate. So there's something behind that. And so now, since moving here to Melbourne, an area that has embraced me fully so much, I'm so grateful. I now get to do this. So I work with corporations. I go into businesses. I now, because of the current situation, have started online classes, which is amazing. Before that, I was teaching a little bit in studios and a lot of privates, but mostly with corporations. Now, because of the current situation, I'm actually teaching more community classes and being able to offer classes to Australia and America at the same time, which is just a beautiful thing for me to be able to offer. And so, that's kind of the premise as to where all of this came from, where all this love for the practice. And apparently I have a very nice voice when I teach that people just love. It goes my mind. I'm not sure if my husband agrees with all that, but
Awesome. So you've basically lived a huge life, Alexis, and seen so much around what I think all of us struggle with at times, and that is perception, and how perception, really holds us back from experiencing so much in life. And I mean, I love you and I love what you do. I mean, I don't say it's different. Like, I don't practice mindfulness in the sense that you were talking about in terms of that physical practice, but I do things in my days that I guess naturally bring my mind, bring myself to a calmer mind and all that sort of stuff. And that's what I try and say to my clients, is that, there isn't any rules around it. There's no rules around how to do this stuff, but seeing the benefit around just being able to quieten that habitual chatter and all that stuff that goes on in there. I mean, that's when you really will allow space for new stuff to come in, and you start to see new things and drop the perceptions that we have around so much in our life. So one of the things you do a lot on your Instagram page, I've seen, is these mini pauses. So that's another perception too that I think people have around doing this, that it has to take an hour. And I talk about this in an exercise terms too, because a lot of people won't train or do exercise because I think, I need a whole hour out of my day to do it, when micro workouts or micro meditations can be just super effective, especially in these times that we're going through. So, I've been a little bit stressed today because I've got 4 of my children starting online school tomorrow. Yes. And I had this, I was in bed last night going, well, logistics wise, where are they all going to sit? They've all got to have their own rooms because of my high school kids. It's like a Zoom classroom, so they have to have their own rooms, and my boys share rooms. And what about the internet, and what about my work? All this chatter in my head. But again, seeing where all that's coming from and having some, I guess, strategies to help you when you go through those moments, just to bring it down to a calmer place, is really important.
Yeah, I want to touch on a few things you said, so I need reminders. I want to touch on one thing briefly. You said that you don't have a formal practice, but you very much have a mindful practice every day. And I would say your relationship to food and the relationship you teach people about food is extremely mindful. In the times that we've spent together, I've learned more about my relationship to food. While I've slowed down over the years, and I definitely am listening to my body, you just teach people to look at food differently. And to be very aware and to kind of process and still find enjoyment from food, but being mindful. So I would say you, as the amazing coach that you are, I think your teachings are mindful. And that's probably where a lot of your mindfulness practice comes in. Plus you have like an army of children. So, and you're always happy. So whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. It's very impressive. Tracy is a champion. Yes, I don't have children, but I admire her greatly. With regards to the mini meditations, it's come a lot from this idea of perception. When I started meditating, I still owned my company. I woke up every morning. I made a little corner in my bedroom. Now, granted, I never went to a class. I really had no freaking idea what I was doing, but I knew I needed something. I was so lost and sad and all over the place. And so I started sitting every morning, and I started using an app, and I would follow these meditations. I didn't know if I was doing it right, wrong, how I was supposed to sit, what was I supposed to look at, like were my eyes closed or my eyes open? And I just did what felt right. And what felt right for me for years was 15 minutes every morning. And that's what worked for me. And those 15 minutes every morning literally changed my life.
Yeah.
And so because 15 minutes works for me, it doesn't mean 5 minutes wouldn't work for you. What I teach a lot of students that I work with is that it is better to do, I always say 6 minutes, because I feel like let's push from 5 to 6. So 6 minutes 3 times a day, 3 times a week, is a million times better than once a week for 15 minutes. Because we meditate to balance ourselves out. We meditate, I always say, as a reset button. Every time we meditate, we reset the button and we come back down to 0. And so then life happens, and life happens, and life happens, and then we meditate. And life happens, and life happens. So this is never going to stop. Doesn't matter if coronavirus is happening. Doesn't matter. You've got 5 kids running around your house yelling at you. It goes up, then it comes down. And so that's the cycle, and that's why the repetition matters. The length comes with time. Like I meditate, when I truly sit and meditate, I meditate much longer now. But that's taken me years. I mean, I started meditating over 6 years ago, and my meditation's all over the place. Sometimes I'm good. Sometimes I'm bad. Like I meditate in the car sometimes. And that brings me to the last point you brought up about, especially families. I have a few friends here and back home that I really had to sit down and think about this. Well, how do you do this when you've got all these kids running around, and how do you sit for even 5 minutes in quiet? And I get it. Eventually they go to sleep. Some women I've talked to that do some of my classes right now say, because I offer one at 7:30 in the morning, it's just early enough where their partner can help, and, they get that time. I know someone that sits in the bathroom. And whether it's a short or a long sit, and I use the bathroom a lot as a staple in this practice, because whether you're at work, when we are allowed to go back to physical work, or you're at home, no one's really going to interrupt you when you're in the bathroom.
That's very true. Well,
okay.
Little kids. Yeah,
there's not much I can do. But let's face it, if your young child wants to interrupt you,
I know.
wherever you are,
that's right.
But so the bathroom, how often are you sitting in the bathroom on your phone scrolling? Maybe you don't bring your phone in when you go. The car is an amazing place, like that idea of, okay, you can't go out much these days, but you go to the store. So what if when you went to the store, before you walked back into the house, you sat there and for 3 minutes, you just took a few deep breaths. You closed your eyes and you stopped. Because that's all this is about. I think there's a lot of people out there that create this idea that we're going to reach for something, that we're going to attain something great. There's a spiritual side to it. And there is for some people, don't get me wrong. But there's also just the act of living mindfully. And the more we practice slowing down, the more we begin to taste our food. We actually chew our food instead of I used to be one of those people that would stand up in the kitchen and shovel it all down my throat. Tracy informed me that was not the best way to eat.
I think you figured that out before I
did. I did. But how we communicate, so some of the benefits I've noticed from everyday mindfulness is how we eat, how we communicate, that we can actually listen to each other, that we don't speak before the person that we're talking to is done, that there's actually active listening. Just decisions we make. So I'm a very reactive person. You tell me you need me to do something, I should have done it 5 hours earlier. I'm a go-getter. I'm a hard worker. And so I've always been that way. But choosing to be mindful means today's a great example. I've had a busy morning. I'm trying to learn how to be better at social media. My brain was about to explode after my class. And I had administrative work I was doing all morning. And then I was like, you know what? I had lunch with my husband. And I was like, I'm going to watch one episode of my favorite girly television show before I go back to it, because I needed a break. I was tired and I didn't have anything to give. And knowing to give yourself that break is probably one of the hardest things this day and age, to step outside and say, I'm going to go for a walk around the block.
Yeah.
This is what mindfulness is about. It's not about sitting with Buddha under the tree for 10 hours.
And I think as women, we are really bad at that generally. It's that, not the martyr is not the right word, but we just, everybody else first, everybody else before what we need. But putting ourselves up there and giving ourselves break when we need it, letting our thinking calm, is actually going to mean we're going to show up differently to everybody that we love, and to the kids and to our partner. So it is, it's what we should all be doing. I think that's fantastic. One of the things you said when you were talking there was that, you started with your 15 minutes of practice every morning and you did whatever felt right to you. And that's what stands to me, and what my message is always, you do what feels right to you. And, what is right for you is right for you, but it might not be right for me. And that's what we've got to start doing more, is listening to ourselves and trusting our wisdom and doing what does feel right for us. And that's the whole thing about, well, there's no rules, but we love to think that there is, and love to grab onto, well, you just give it to me. Tell me how to do it. I don't, I don't want to work it out for myself. I just want to do whatever you've done, because that's going to get me to where you are, type thing. But it just doesn't work that way, does it?
Yeah, no, it really, you've hit the nail on the head. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about the coaching that you do, is that it's really about listening to what works for you, like Tracy, we had this common connection of eating a low carb way of living, I guess you could say. And I'm by far nowhere near perfect as to what I eat. But what I've actually come to accept is that when I cheat, which I actually don't even really like to use that word because it's a choice I make. And what's interesting is because I have found a way to eat that makes me happy, that makes me feel good when I look at my body in the mirror for the first time in 40 years of living, that I enjoy that bowl of ice cream or slice of pizza, whatever it might be, because I've gotten to a place where I'm like, this is a treat and it's nice. Yeah, but I like the way I'm doing things. And I go back. And so I use this phrase often in class. I say, can you give yourself permission? And we often really don't give ourselves permission to allow, but also to have balance. It's not all or nothing. So, right.
Yeah. Yep. The all or nothing principle. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Do you want to before we finish up, just take us through, I don't know, something short, or I saw you posted something around, mindfulness over eating a bit of chocolate or a sultana or something like that. I know we've just passed Easter and there's probably a lot of chocolate sitting in everybody's house. And of course the group, this is mostly a low carb group. And, it's one of those things. It's funny because it's something like I haven't had chocolate, for about 6 years. And I'm not saying that for any reason other than to say I just don't desire it. It's easy. It's, I buy little ones for my kids, but I've always bought presents for Easter. They'll get like a toy or a book, or my older kids get a bit of money or something like that. But if there's chocolate there, I just don't desire it. But for a lot of people, that's not, they do feel the urge to eat, the chocolate that's there. So I thought it might be great if you could sort of share a little bit around, how you sort of went through some mindfulness tips around the chocolate.
Yeah. Well, why don't we do a little mini meditation together? How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay. Where I don't physically have food in front of me, which is how I usually do it. Well, we can still get in the mood together, and I'll just guide you through a little bit of grounding, a little bit of breathing, and a little bit of insight into eating as well. Awesome. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you might be watching this and juggling something else. Can you allow yourself the next 3-4 minutes to pause? And maybe with your eyes wide open, you take a really nice deep breath in through your nose and let it out your mouth. And maybe if it's been one of those days, you do another one. And a deep breath in. And this time you might even sigh it out. And even notice how 2 breaths can shift your body, the way you feel. And if it feels comfortable for you for just the next few minutes, maybe you close down your eyes. And as you close down your eyes, I like to imagine the most beautiful piece of silk resting over them. Notice the softness, the texture. And what color do you choose to rest over your eyes? And as you take these few minutes for yourself that you so deserve, allow yourself to relax not only into your eyelids, but into your cheeks, and your jaw, even your lips. Notice where the tongue is resting in your mouth. Is it pushing up against the roof, or is it just quite laying around? And just allow yourself a moment, if it feels right, to connect with your natural breath. To notice the rise and fall, the ebb and flow that you create. Allow yourself to appreciate the sounds that surround you wherever you are. The neighbor's dog, the humming of a refrigerator, the children in the room next door. And allow that to be part of your practice. And so tonight, or this afternoon when you get a little hungry, can you take a pause before you take the first bite of maybe that Easter chocolate or afternoon snack? And can you allow yourself to hold it and just look at it? Notice textures. Notice how it feels. You might even allow yourself to smell it. And then most importantly, before you take that first bite, appreciate and recognize what you're about to eat. And then slowly, with the tiniest bites, enjoy your treat. But I offer this to you. Can you slow down? No matter how big or small a treat is, can you savor and enjoy each little bite? You feel it in your tongue, the roof of your mouth, and even as you swallow it. And allow yourself to breathe and pause while you're eating. In your own time, in your own way, with this little mini meditation. Maybe licking your lips, thinking about your chocolate treat. And you'll open your eyes and you'll come back into the room. Maybe with a slightly different lens on the space you're in or how you'll eat your treat today.
I don't want to talk. I don't want to ruin it. It was beautiful.
Oh, I'm glad you
you,
like it.
darling.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for coming on and chatting with us and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. And I would love you to comment when in the post, the live post, all your details of where people can find you.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend you follow this amazing lady. And she's also generously agreed to be a part of the Low Carb Lifestyle Long Weekend Summit. So she'll be coming along to take a pause, or offer a pause to participants as well. So thank you, darling. That was lovely.
You're very welcome. And I will just say one thing through all of this. It's a really important time to be mindful and to make sure you're taking inventory of yourself and how you feel. And if you ever want a little tidbit of a class, I'm doing community donation-based classes every Thursday night at 6 p.m. So if you've lost your job, whatever your situation is, you can just come on. You don't have to donate even $1 and just come in community and experience what it's like to just breathe and maybe learn some tricks that you can do at home through all this. So that offering is to anybody out there.
Sounds amazing. Thank you, darling.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.